Hi, how are you doing? Morning, guys. Welcome to my big reveal, even though I didn't have the patience to make it till today because Danny was busy. He had wedding and, unimportant stuff to film, so he didn't make time for me. So I couldn't wait. I had to show it off. So I made some crappy iPhone reels and it is what it is. But here we are, we're gonna do the same thing I did with my S and just kind of walk you guys through my decision making on certain parts and why I chose certain things. Give you guys a better idea of why I do this or why I pick A or pick B. Because I do get a lot of questions of like, hey, why'd you choose this? Why'd you choose that? First and foremost, it's a 2022 Polaris Turbo R Ultimate. So it does have the dynamics and all the live valve, GPS, all that fancy stuff. I made that decision a few years ago with my red car to just kind of buy once, cry once, and have all the features and things like that. And I really enjoy that. The GPS is freaking awesome. I love linking up with other Polaris riders and you always have an idea of where everybody's at, So if something happens, you drop a pin, boom, rush back to camp, and you know where to find the rest of the group or whatever you left behind. So I continued that decision onto my 2021 Turbo S and now to the Turbo R. The biggest question I get asked, I guess, is why I went Turbo R and not Pro R. Pro R is basically the same thing, of course, except with the exception of the motor. I know the rear end is extended a little bit more, the trailing arms and things like that, but my biggest factor considering the two or whatever is these things make easier power with less money. I could do the E85 tune from Evo with a couple of their bolt-ons, and I can make, I think, like 220 wheel or something like that, which it's like 250, 260 crank. So to me, that's more than enough. I'm not the fastest and glamorous by any means. I use this thing mostly just to shred and jump and things like that. So that's why I made that decision. Literally, that's the only reason. The Pro R, to make more power, you're gonna have to boost it, have to do head work, have to do some cams, or get really in depth into the motor. And that of course requires a lot more money. So that wasn't for me. It wasn't any other factor in that decision outside of just purely easier power with less money. So anyways, that's that. That's what I get asked the most, is why Pro or why Turbo R, not Pro R. So onto the part. So we'll start up here in the front, start with the bumper. What is it? Business up front, party in the rear. This thing to me, BCF, is such a freaking good looking bumper in my opinion. I forget what model it actually is, but I seen it on one of their cars on the website and I was freaking in love. I love the freaking X in the front. I don't know why, it looks beast. And then perfect fitment for that Baja Designs Onyx 10-inch. On my last car or on previous cars, I've always put a light up top. This is the first car that I decided against that. Just reading and doing research, basically that top light is cool when you're at Glamis, at Glamis and you're leading. If you're trailing somebody or following somebody, all you're gonna get is like massive dust particles and just basically like a white wall. So it doesn't really benefit you. So I have that expensive ass light bar up top, basically for no reason. From what everybody says is, keep the amber lights low. I have the amber cover for that one if I need it, like when I go down to Baja. And then maybe I might throw on something on the A-pillar, but for now, the 2 Onyx works perfect, and that bumper fitting that light perfectly is just like match made in heaven. So I did do the shock therapy fork kit. A very known weak point is the shock fork and the bottom ball joint on these cars. Because they're so heavy, that stuff is known to break. So preventative maintenance, I did the fork kit. It holds the shaft. You guys can look into it. Shock Therapy talks details about all that stuff, and you guys can get educated on that or whatever. But I did that just, you know, hopefully this thing doesn't leave me stranded on the trails when I'm jumping or something like that. So have the MTS spring kit. I do have their limit strap kit, which is the only one that doesn't tie into like the actual shock itself. I guess people are having issues with Shock Therapy or other limit strap kits that are breaking shocks because there's too much tension on it, whatever. There's videos on that as well. MTS bolts up to the sway bar link and some kind of weird thing right there. It's still in the bag in my truck. I just haven't gotten around to doing it, just been busy with other things. We can move on to the wheels and make our way back. So the wheels, this is a 35-inch truck tire, Rogue, same people that make the paddles for the rear. They get a 35-inch truck tire and they shave it down and they leave this badass mohawk pattern, which I freaking love this look. The Sandcraft, they're badass too, but just that solid little line in the front, it's not as nice looking to me. I've seen people cut the Sandcraft in like little lines in the mohawk and it makes it look better. But I just love how beefy this thing is. And then yesterday driving around Glamis, this thing helps a lot. Helps with steering, it helps with gripping a lot more because as you guys can see, there's some big knobbies and tread on here. So big freaking fan of this. And plus the size. Sandcraft has yet to release like a tire this size. So this was a no-brainer to me. My boy Price, Cade Price Designs, he just started his business a couple months ago, a year ago, making some beautiful ass wheels. So I had to give him a shot, and so far I'm obviously not disappointed there. We did get them powdered to match the rest of the stuff. And then I love that, I'm not sure if the camera will do it justice, but there's a lot of little cuts in the face, and it makes it look a whole lot freaking prettier. So I love that. Got me some nice neochrome hardware, neochrome lugs. I did that little antenna neochrome as well, which we'll circle back to. A lot of little details in these wheels that I really like. The center cap, even the little valve stems. I like to joke with him and tell him that he charges me $35 per valve stem because these wheels are not cheap. You know, whatever. He gave me the valve stems for free after buying these wheels. So thanks, Cade. Thanks for free valve stems, bro. Onto the cage. Oh, I'm sorry. Onto the hood. I forgot about the hood. We'll circle back. 4Works carbon hood. No benefit whatsoever. Just looks, man. I love how this little carbon ties into the car. Maybe eventually get a carbon dash and like it'd be like bow, bow. You know, pow, pow, pow. Onto the mirrors, Chupacabra, of course. My boy Nick, always taking care of me for all my little miscellaneous products and stuff like that, which I do have here as well. So I have his mirrors, his new mirrors, the Queros, his new rear view mirror, freaking sweet. I really like just the simplicity of them. I mean, they look good. What more do you want? Their door bags. I freaking love Nick's door bags, Chupacabra's door bags. They have massive freaking storage in here. You can fit all kinds of stuff. They have these nice little pockets for miscellaneous things, your gloves, this, your cell phone pocket. And then, I mean, I have like a tire gauge and stuff in here, a pressure gauge. So like plenty of room. A lot of other bags are just one solid slit and all your stuff just bounces around in there, gets scratched up. So big shout out to Nick for coming up with these nice little bags. And then I like the price, you know, the price is extremely affordable compared to a lot of other manufacturers. So let's just make our way around and then we'll talk interior. So something simple, little details. I had this custom made with the exact same font that the Polaris puts on, the R. Will a lot of people notice that? I don't know, but I think that's pretty cool. And I put it obviously in the exact same place as the OEM sticker. So really like that. I think it just kind of ties things together. Onto the cage, my brother, of course, Unlimited Fab Works. We don't have a lot of experience, I guess, with the new styles, with the Pros or the Turbo Rs. So my brother was kind of playing with this one, and I wanted it really short, just basically to hug my head. So if you're 6 foot and above, I'm sorry I can't give you a ride because you're not gonna fit. That's a downside to it, but I'm Mexican. A lot of my Mexican homies, we're pretty short, so it's all good. So my Mexican homies, we fit. White boys and black people, I'm sorry. But yeah, I don't know, there's no specific name or style. It's just kind of low and sleek, and I mean, I freaking love it. It's hard to tell from down here, but he put a big old diamond on the roof, and it's been complimented a couple times. Even at Powder Coat, they were like, damn, dude, who did the diamond? Like, who builds this cage? And I told him my brother, and he's like, oh, that's freaking sick, because that's details that a lot of builders don't do. So big shout out to my bro, taking care of me. Onto the rear, that's pretty much all I got for there. Of course, buggy whip, I have two 2-footers, and then I have my 4-foot Mexican one in the middle. The extra lumens, teal, and the Mexican colors, extra lumens as well. And these flags are freaking beast. I've flipped with them, I've hit a lot of things with them, and they do not freaking break. This base right here is so strong. They'll bend sometimes, which you can warranty, but this stuff does not break. A lot of other manufacturers, they just snap, and that's whack. So extremely, extremely good and solid quality from Buggy Whip. So shout out to them. I have Dune flags here. They make badass, super heavy duty flags that aren't getting all tore up everywhere and stuff. So as you can see, they're holding up freaking strong as hell. These are double-sided, freaking beast. I need to update that picture with a picture of this bad boy. Like I said, MTS shocks in the back as well. They're developing a new limit strap kit for this as well. It's in the works. Not sure when it's gonna hit the streets. Paddles, 12 paddle, 34-inch Rogue. It's a little too much, but I think once I do the E85 Evo tune on this, like I was mentioning earlier, I think this will be the perfect paddle. So something for you guys to consider if you do go to a size this big on the Turbo R. I think maybe like an 11 or maybe even a 10 paddle will be perfect if you plan on staying like with a 91, 93 tune. I think these 12s are a little much, just my opinion. Did the beadlock in the rear, which Cade Price Designs. He hasn't done this setup before where the front doesn't have a beadlock and the rear does. So it's pretty cool. The back has like a step lip in the barrel, just something different. I really like to throw my ass end around, and I've dismounted a couple tires before running beadlocks in the rear. So now I just run a beadlock in the rear just to be extra safe. So shaving the tire is, there's two types of tires. There's like your Sand Tire Unlimited, which is like a big mold. And then these come, I'm not exactly sure on the process, but they glue these things on. So if you want 12 paddle, 11, 14, they're gluing these things on. Pros and cons, just like Ford, Chevy on everything else. These kind of typically are a little more delicate. So you can pop them like on certain twig or something like that. I mean, that's exaggerating, but if a stick is pointed in the right way, you'll pop these typically easier than a Sand Tire Unlimited. The pro to this is they're extremely light. And the pro to the STU, to the other type of tire, is they're gonna be a lot stronger, but they're also gonna be way heavier. And way heavier is probably like 15 pounds heavier. So that makes a big difference in rotating mass and prolonging your belt life and things of that nature. So the buff tire to me has always been my number one choice. I just love how they look, and that comes back from when I was a kid running my dirt bikes and quads and stuff. I've always loved scats and these type of buff tires. So that was the decision making behind those. STU is a solid tire. You can get them shaved, so then they take material off those tires and make them almost as light as these, but then at that point, they're very delicate as well, and they tend to leak air. So I don't know, take that for what it's worth. You can make your decision. So TPR, something else kind of hidden back here, but I love I mean, it looks freaking beast, and I've gotten a few questions on that too, like what the hell is that? So that's their oil catch can, separator can, something like that. Basically the only true catch can separator in the market. Every turbo vehicle gets blow-by, so like oil gets rerouted back like into the intake, and there's excess pressure and stuff down there. What this thing does, TPR catch can, you hit it, let me see there's like oil, antifreeze, I don't know, whatever gets caught in there, but it separates it badass. I don't know the freaking science behind it, but it's the best. I'm not a freaking information guru and like, oh, this works with 10 PSI, but I know that thing works. Everybody swears by it. So I had to hop on board and get that as well. That's that. I still need the Evo clutch kit. I need the charge tube, the intake, or both sides of the intake. A couple little miscellaneous things in the injectors so I can run that E85 tune and then really get the max potential out of this car. So, but for right now, it's basically just stock outside of a stage 2 91 tune from Evo. Let's see, SDR storage bags. I love this stuff because of how freaking sleek it is, and it takes up the whole like all the cargo space that you have back here without putting anything to waste. So this is your ice chest. This is like your tool bag, storage area, whatever you want to put. So I have like impacts and random tools in here. And I mean, it ties in super simple. Hell yeah. Choo choo. I'm gonna go with the DRT bed cover, and it has a storage or tie down points for a 33-inch spare. So I'm running 35s on my desert setup, so I'm gonna have to figure something out to run a 35, but I think that's a pretty like 2-for-1 kind of deal, you know. I don't have to make a spare tire rack. I just get that freaking aluminum cover, whatever material it is, and then boom, my spare tire will mount on there. So as you guys can see right there, Baja Designs S2 Pros. I think after the fact, after I ordered them, I read that these are a little excessive for a trail light, for like a rear light. They can give people headaches because they're so bright facing rear. They recommend, Baja Designs does, running the S2 Sportsman. So my bad on that to those people that are behind me. If it's nighttime, you're gonna be maybe getting a headache or be getting annoyed, but I know you're gonna be able to see me for a freaking long ass distance. So one of my local homies here that runs Baja a bunch, he runs those, and when we did a travesía down in Mex, I could see him freaking mountains away just from the stupid little amber light. So my wife was very on board with that. She was like, babe, we gotta get that for our car. So we made that move on the Turbo S, and now here on the Turbo R. So those are badass. So in the rear, I opted for a bench because I have 3 little troublemakers. I guess my biggest reason for upgrading so soon was the ride. On these cars, I drove my neighbor's Pro R in Glamis and I was freaking sold. But second to that is the space. So when we do these long rides, if you guys are familiar with the Razors, the previous models, there's not a lot of room for adults in the back. And once you start going on these longer trips where you have to have, you know, your clothes or a bunch of tools or spare fuel tanks, etc., you start running out of room really, really quick. So on these, you have so much freaking leg space, even with the seats all the way back. I'll show you guys. A full-size adult fits in here, no freaking problem. So like I said, oh damn, there's not a lot of headroom though, but yeah, you have tons of room, like my legs. In the old models, you're like super cramped up in here. Once you put like a couple bags of storage, I mean, you're pretty much SOL at that point. You have no leg room. I didn't make this for adults to be traveling with me. I made this for my boys to be with me, so they're good on the headroom for probably the next 7 years, and by then I'll be on the Turbo Z or something. I don't know, whatever model comes out at that point. Bench in the back from XXX. I go XXX all the time because I love how they look. These little cutouts for the harnesses, they look really mean and aggressive to me. So PRP does them a little bit bigger, and they look good as well, but I don't think they look as good. I did go with PRP harnesses, the 4.2s. So up here, Danny can get in there and show you guys. I went with the Rugged STX. I was told that the quality and everything is going to be a whole lot better. You can basically shut down the boys from talking in the back. I don't know, whatever other specs that they have, I'm not positive on, but I was told these are the latest and greatest and the best that there is. So I went with that. And so far I'm not disappointed. I was told that the sound was gonna be like, oh wow, it's gonna be way crazier. But honestly, I mean, for the extra money, I would have just gone with the regular setup. All the extra features that it has that I'm not aware of, maybe that's why you can justify the price, but for your average weekend warrior like I am, where I do a couple little Baja trips or, you know, ride around Glamis, I think the basic rugged setup is more than enough. So it is what it is. It's in there now, and I got a crazy good deal through Dean at Razorworks here in Yuma, and he took care of me on that. So I can't complain, but take that for what it's worth, and maybe you guys can make a better decision or an alternate decision. I have the Dune Gear dome lights. The first time I hear of them is because of Dean at Razorworks, and they're extremely bright. I'm not disappointed in that. He put 2 of them in there for me, so it really lights everything up at night. It's kind of unfortunate that we're out here in the daytime, but at night you guys can you guys will eventually see on my Instagram or on future videos how bright they truly are. Another thing I want to showcase as well, my last thing I should say, is Dean at Razorworks. His wiring is freaking incredible. So I'm not sure if Danny's gonna be able to see these little details right here, but can you see the wire right there, Danny? If you line that thing up. So Dean takes extreme pride in hiding wires, and I love that from him. He freaking tries to basically show no wires. You see tons of cages with like zip ties and wire running down on pillars everywhere and stuff, and I think, man, that looks so trashy, like so cheap. So he runs everything through the cage. He does these badass little grommets. He hides the crap out of these wires, and it's everywhere. You don't really see any wire at all. I mean, if you look right here too, boom, that thing is super hidden. He does a badass fuse box up there underneath the front passenger side. So, you know, popping fuses or anything like that, bam, super easily accessible. So big shout out to Dean and the team over there. That's pretty much it. I answered why Turbo R, not Pro R. Gave you guys a somewhat in-depth breakdown of all my parts and why. I hope you guys enjoy this thing, man. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on social media, so that lets me know that, you know, it is a pretty sweet looking machine. So I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys can, you know, get some quality info on my decision making, good or bad. Back to some action shots, I guess. Yeah.